Jamal Murray had an unfortunate weekend. Charles Oakley and Knicks owner Dolan continue their beef and take it to court. On this day in NBA history, the New Jersey Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers played 2 games with a box score of 1. Which native Bay Area All-Star would you rather go with? We'll dive into their statistics and impact in the NBA later. This is episode 5 of Hoops Daily, available on all your favorite streaming apps and YouTube. And I am your host, Rich Elmoyan. Talk of the town. Jamal Murray claimed to have been hacked in what seems like a graphic video of a private relationship, public audience, all at home. The video went up on Saturday by Jamal Murray featuring Harper Hempel and deleted very quickly after it was posted. But considering Jamal Murray has a volume of 450,000 followers on the gram, it was an issue that deserved a little addressing. Murray apologized for the video, saying, "First and foremost, I would like to apologize to my fans. My account has been hacked. Currently working on this issue. Thanks." Let's dive into that real quick, yeah? Do you think he got hacked? Well, let's take up some of the factors. Now, for the sake of staying true to our Christian Mingle values, we're not going to post the video. Sorry. But we are going to question it one moment at a time. If you never meant to post it, why apologize to a fan base that allegedly you're the victim? Now, of course, that video had an unfortunate timing. Saturday night, quarantining and chill, right? With your girlfriend who is an athlete as well. But you posted on your Instagram story, which means clearly, obviously, that video was still there. It probably just went in your most recent photos. You just accidentally uploaded it, and all of a sudden a friend or a family friend calls you and notifies you that, what you doing, bud? What you doing late night? It seems like you got other plans instead of 6 feet away. Seems like you're 6 inches away, man. But anywho, Jamal Murray clearly is in a PR stunt right now with a scandal coming up. But it's not enough to be trumped by the Charles Oakley versus Dolan or the coronavirus talk. But today we're not going to go into the coronavirus talk. We're going to dive straight into Oakley versus Dolan. Charles Oakley and New York Knicks owner James Dolan have been ordered to resolve their issues over the phone. Hilarious. Announced the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit earlier this week. The Oakley-Dolan feud gained momentum in 2017 when former Knick Charles Oakley was arrested and kicked out of Madison Square Garden, the holy Mecca. After an altercation with security, Dolan ordered to ban Oakley from Madison Square Garden, which according to Dolan is because of Oakley's alleged drinking problem. Now, if some of you may recall, this happened a similar issue approximately 3 weeks ago with Spike Lee and Dolan. So maybe sometime in the future we'll talk about that. As a result, Charles Oakley took it to court, accusing Dolan for defamation, assault, and false imprisonment. But last month in Manhattan, Oakley's lawsuit was ignored and was told to resolve his issues with Dolan's decision. Dolan banned Oakley from the arena, and in the process insinuated that the Knicks legend had a drinking problem. So I'm sure the Knicks fans are looking into this, right? You're Charles Oakley, you're known in the New York metropolitan area quite well. And if you're in New York, I feel bad for you, man. You got all this coronavirus thing taken over. On top of that, you got Charles Oakley and Dolan in confrontation. But that phone call is set to happen on March 31st, so we got some time until then. It's almost like we're all waiting for the Khabib-McGregor fight, except it's Oakley and Dolan, and they can't even see each other, so they got to call each other. Which leads us to our next segment, Blast from the Past. The Sixers and Nets met on November 8th, 1978. The game was a rough one with technicals called everywhere, and the game ended with the Nets calling on NBA commissioner for a redo. Well, it's important to note that this is one of the most twisted NBA box scores in history, and the only time that NBA players have played on 2 separate teams in one game. Now, here are the origins of what made a wild makeup game. The league was nowhere near what you recognize today. The NBA in the late 1970s was, shall we say, different and much quieter than what we have today. Just to give you perspective, sitcom reruns were valued much higher than NBA games aired on TV. So, what happened? Well, a bad call against the young Bernard King sent the referee staff to go on a bad call spree. Referee Powers, named Richie Powers, called a technical on Bernard King, giving him 3 for the game, and that makes it 1 over the limit. Nets coach Kevin Lawfrey jumped from the bench and raced onto the floor. The Nets head coach got 3 technicals himself from Powers, which was illegal. So a total of 6 technicals were given to the Nets. And the Nets continued playing without Bernard King and Coach Lawfrey, which, who came to the rescue? Phil Jackson. His very first time as a head coach position was during this random situation. Though the Nets went on to lose the match, Nets management made sure to not let the Sixers get away with this. They petitioned Larry O'Brien for a redo, which was scheduled on March 23rd and confirmed. Here's the weird part. By the time the game was played, the teams traded amongst each other. Catchings and Simpson went to the Sixers for some extra cash, Skinner and the shifty point guard money. So literally they got cash and money. Young money, cash money. So if you look at the box score, these players were noted for both teams. The only time in NBA history where the same player has played for 2 teams in the same box score. Isn't that weird? You also had Henry Bibby, father of Mike Bibby. You had NBA commentator Doug Collins. And Joe Jellybean Bryant, of course, known for being the father of Kobe Bryant. So as if the game wasn't confusing enough, they traded the players that were effective in the game. The game was frustrating and it involved a lot of emotion. It was just a weird time in the NBA overall. Anyways, the Sixers ended up winning this one, and the game went down as one of the strangest games yet. Now, moving on to our next segment, Would You Rather? Jason Kidd and Gary Payton have both had very important careers in the NBA, with Jason Kidd being a wonderful basketball player throughout his time and moving on to be a successful head coach and assistant for the Lakers now, while Gary Payton enjoying his retirement and, of course, a wonderful career before that. So we look at Best of the Bay. Jason Kidd was born in San Francisco, but he grew up in Oakland. This is before the tech boom, so still rough times. In high school, he averaged 25 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, and 7 steals for St. Joseph Notre Dame. Now, you're probably thinking this dude was basically averaging a quadruple-double in high school. Yeah, that's what it was then. He didn't stop then. In college, as a freshman, his statistics were 13 points, 7.7 assists, 4.9 rebounds, and was a key factor in the resurgence of Cal Berkeley basketball. I mean, clearly Jason Kidd was great enough to go anywhere, and Cal was coming off a terrible year. They were awful. So he brought him back, sent him to the NCAA tournament with a bid, and upset the 2-time defending champion Duke in the second round of that tournament before losing to Kansas in the Sweet 16. His sophomore statistics were even better. 17 points near, 9 assists, 7 rebounds, and 3 steals. He was also a finalist for the Naismith and Wooden Awards as college basketball's top player. He opened up, of course, in 1994 to go straight to the draft. I mean, who wouldn't? The guy was doing so great in college that, why do I even need a degree, he said. I'm going to go make that paycheck. So, he got drafted by the Mavericks. He was a young, passionate point guard. He was second overall pick behind Glenn Robinson and ahead of Grant Hill. He averaged around 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists in his first year and led the NBA in triple-doubles as a freshman. So, as a rookie, Jason Kidd was putting up similar to what Westbrook was. Of course, at a smaller extent. Don't look at the inflated numbers that we see today. But Jason Kidd was on track to being something of similar to Russell Westbrook, though he shared the Rookie of the Year award with Grant Hill. Then came along 1996, joined the Suns. gets inducted as NBA All-Star for the first time, and proves that he is worthy of being a franchise asset. He makes it to the second round for the first time, already better than what he was doing in Dallas. It's like we said, and led the league in assists for 3 straight years, and voted All-NBA 3 years in a row. Pretty impressive. But then he gets traded to the New Jersey Nets, a team that was mediocre, subpar at best, not the best history with the NBA. So that was the real time to test whether Jason Kidd was a real franchise player, because the teams prior, he kind of had some support. So on the Nets, I like to call it the matured leadership moment in his career. He joined the New Jersey Nets and took him straight to the first NBA Finals, but of course getting swept by the Lakers. So I'd like to put 2 parts into this. The second part is when Vince Carter, Richard Jefferson, and Jason Kidd were playing. So Jason Kidd went from having the team to himself for the Nets to having some extra help. But it's how he adapted through injuries and whatnot, Vince Carter not making expectations, and simply not having a good big man. I mean, Nenad Krstić wasn't much. So after that, an unsuccessful run with the Nets comes with the Dallas Mavericks, a mastered leadership, as I'd say. With the Dallas Mavericks, he ended up actually having somewhat of a successful time. You had Jason Kidd, who had gone pretty far in the playoffs, but he hadn't really won much. He still hadn't won an NBA Finals game. So when he went to Dallas as a point guard in his 17th year, he ended up going to the championship and winning it all over the Miami Heat. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh and company. So ultimately, he comes full circle with the guys that drafted him. He ended up winning it all, which, life can be sometimes so beautiful. And then last year, Jason Kidd decided to sign with the New York Knicks, what he thought was not going to be that eventful. Turns out, he actually did quite well. He was supposed to be the mentor for Jeremy Lin, which didn't turn out in his favor, but ended up taking on a little playoff run with Raymond Felton and company. Raymond Felton being the big point guard, literally, on the court. So you had Amari Stoudemire, Jason Kidd, Carmelo Anthony, and Raymond Felton on one team. Sadly, the team didn't make it too far with the playoffs. And after that, Jason Kidd, with Grant Hill, decides to retire from the NBA. Now, let's look at Gary Payton. Born in Oakland, raised in Oakland, and definitely very Oakland. His high school skyline was not that recruitable of a team, but he was a top recruit at the time, though bad grades had him sit out for quite a couple of months. In college, he decided to go to Oregon State University and was named Sports Illustrated 1989 Nation's Best NCAA Hooper. He was known for his defense and offense, which later on comes pretty handy in NBA. For the Sonics, Gary Payton was known for being the glove. He was a 9 consecutive All-NBA first defensive player. And he was the first guard to win Defensive Player of the Year since, who? Michael Jordan. So, during his stint with the Sonics, he had quite a successful time in the West Coast, though those were Michael Jordan's glory years. So, he didn't really get much of a spotlight. He ends up getting traded to the Bucks with Desmond Mason. It was a quick trip, nothing crazy, ended the 2003 year and opted out for free agency. Joins the Los Angeles Lakers in 2003-2004, but nowhere near as successful during those times. Let's mention that Gary Payton was an NBA champion, 2-time NBA first team, 5-time All-NBA second team, 2-time All-NBA third team, 9-time NBA All-Defensive first team, NBA All-Rookie second team, NBA steals leader, and it keeps going on. Also named USA Basketball Male Athlete of the Year in 1999. His statistics, I'm currently looking at it right now. You'll probably see at the top left of your corner. He was averaging 24 points and 6.5 rebounds as a point guard. That is absolutely nuts. And this is where the comparison of Jason Kidd and Gary Payton comes alive, because both were pretty complete athletes or point guards in their day. But Jason Kidd was averaging a triple-double. It just happens that Gary Payton was not meeting those numbers himself. Jason Kidd being a bigger guard as well. Gary Payton known for defense. It was a different dynamic that they had per se. But Gary Payton's success over the years kind of dwindled, or his contribution, shall I say. Played on the Los Angeles Lakers, which didn't go too successful. We all know the Karl Malone, Gary Payton edition, how that ended, especially during the times of Kobe's trial and cases. After that, didn't work out too much, so he went to Boston. Boston, things didn't go quite well either, so he decides to go to Miami. Miami 2 years. The first year, he gets a championship ring. And the second one, he just couldn't get it, so he decided to retire. I don't know. If you were to ask me, I think Jason Kidd had a more prolific career. He definitely made some more damage, both coaching and playing. Being a part of the Lakers staff is something great. The Bucks, he kind of created that. He's kind of like the Mark Jackson for the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, Mark Jackson kind of created that Warriors team and handed it off to Steve Kerr, while with the same thing with the Bucks. Jason Kidd kind of built that Giannis Antetokounmpo thing going on over there. So, But anyways, that does it for today's episode of Hoops Daily. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Don't forget to let us know if you have some thoughts about today's topics of Jason Kidd or Gary Payton. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Hoops Daily on your favorite streaming app. This was your host, Rich Almoyan, logging out from Los Angeles, California. Bye-bye.